Good morning, everyone. Hi, Melinda. Nice to see you. See you. Um, so I am sitting here thinking about last week's session in which we did kind of more integration. I don't know, more back and forth. And I think I had always been afraid to do that because I didn't want to startle people. That the course is sort of like kind of pretty fluid in me at this juncture. I had always thought that that might feel a little scary to people. It's like, who are you talking to? Is it Katie or is it the chorus? And, what I've found over time is that the more you actually play in that, the more really obvious it becomes which you're hearing from, but also which member of the chorus you're hearing from too. It just gets more and more and more and more clear. And I think it's pretty fun because it goes back to what they always say, which is sort of just keep going. Just allow, just let more things happen and more clarity will come to you. Just keep trying stuff out. And as they said last week, just keep experimenting. So I think that this will probably be the theme from here on out. And I am open to others' ideas on how to experiment too. I think this is an awakening. It's all about bringing forward each of our own perspectives. So I think we create this together, truly. So, speaking of creating things together, I am not that great at letting people know that this exists. I sort of leave that up to the chorus, and maybe that's not a good thing because they definitely are not in this game. So, if anyone has any ideas for how I should, I don't know, reach out more or post more, I welcome them. Because most days I am sort of in my own world, so to speak, and then it's like, oh, it's Tuesday. I don't know if any of you else out there have that, but yes, it's sort of like you resurface, and then it's like, oh yeah, Jesse, hi Jesse, I adore your haircut. Thank you so much. I have been loving it in the Florida heat. Having short hair is awesome. It's been great. I may never go back. So, all right. So, I think what we can do is sort of bring them through for an initial message. And then, if you all are up for it, whoever would be willing to come forward on stage and interact with them and me pretty dynamically, you would be welcome to do so. But to kick things off, we'll hear what they have to say. Dear ones, we celebrate your choice to be here, to experience these frequencies, to play, to frolic, to enjoy. We understand that in this day and age, there may not be as many opportunities as you are accustomed to feel this sort of light-hearted joy, this playfulness. There's much that is surrounding you and your realities that can seem quite serious at times. We do not invalidate this perspective, but we would suggest what you are uncovering is your ability to choose. To choose when and how and for how long you would like to sustain, to enjoy these lighter, perhaps more loving, perhaps more allowing, perhaps more trusting frequencies in your life. There is much that is happening right now. And we would suggest that you are sensing much more than your five senses are currently capable of perceiving. You are recognizing in many ways the energetic aspects of yourselves that are real and are true and are telling you new and different things. for a little while through this phase of transition, there may not be many moments yet in which you feel that these two things are connected, that you will have a sense of something, emotions, perhaps even a roller coaster, you might say, inside of you and around you or in your life at that moment. There is not quite enough to explain those sensations. This is true. You are beginning to experience other worlds, might be a way to say it, other types of existences, other types of reality. And you are bringing that information through to you. And the five senses mind says, but I can't explain all of that. And that is true. Not yet. It is not yet reflecting those frequencies in terms of concepts or words or squeaks and whistles, as you know we like to say about your spoken language. Those days are coming, however. There are many of you who will be the first among your circles, among your communities, among those who love you and are connected to you, who will begin to sense and perceive these things ahead of the others. In this way, you are stabilizing for each other the connections to these vaster places. You will assist many others as they expand into these places and experience their own versions of awakening and expansion and transition. And so, at times, it may feel as though it is a heavy mystery to carry around with you. These emotions and sensations that seem to be a world unto their own. And this is true. And also, what you are coming to is a greater level of freedom, greater levels of choice, of awareness and understanding, in which the playfulness grows. Because your invincibility, your connection to direct source, your understanding of everything that you are is also expanding. And in that place, what once felt heavy now seems to have been chosen and also at just the right time released. What questions do you have for us today? This is Katie. Interested to hear what you guys think, if this resonates with you. It does with me. I feel a second track now all day long. As I go through my day, there are two tracks. Jessie says it does with me. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, there's a whole energetic part of me that's like carrying on its own conversation with the universe and feeling things and experiencing things and wondering things. And then there's the other part of me that, well, this morning was putting peanut butter on potato chips because it felt like the right thing to do at that moment. So, but every now and then they converge, every now and then, and it feels like it all makes sense. It feels like it's beautiful and it's all turning in the right direction. So it's not often, but every now and then I get those sensations and it really helps. Really helps me to see, I think, their perspective on this at this juncture of transition, as they say. So, would anybody, Jessie says, ditto, it is such a contrast, and I don't know how to reconcile the two states, or even if I can or should. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Would you want to come up and have a dynamic chat with me and the chorus? Plus, Jessie, it's just been so long since I've seen you, so I'm going to selfishly use these live chats for my own purposes. Jessie, no pressure. So while Jesse decides, or Melinda, or anybody else who would like to come up and interact with them, I promise it'll be fun and playful. Jesse says I'm on my phone and just out of the shower, but I can try. You are such a good sport. Oh my gosh. Well, no pressure. If you want to, then I think it could be a lot of fun. So what I do is I send you like an invite to turn on your camera. So, and it should, give you an option. So I'll send the invite right now, and then you accept when you're ready. So
I'm like, okay. I haven't even dried my hair yet. Hi.
this is awesome. You are amazing.
I'm just like, well, I showed up for a reason. Let's do this. Oh, no.
Exactly, right?
Look, we're in green together today, honey.
I know. Isn't that wild? I just saw that. Oh, man. Are you on this wavelength or what?
Yeah. Well, I was like, I'm going to make it today. I'm finally going to make it. And then I woke up with a headache and I was like, shit, I can't get up yet. And then I was like, I'm going to at least listen. I'm going to at least listen. And then, of course, hi.
And they're like, you're already here. You can play with us just a little bit.
Yes, like just push through those, like fears of being utterly unprepared to be on camera. Just do it.
It's amazing and inspiring. It's so spot on because how much of this lately has been like, I'm present. And then now I'm present again. And I'm going to stay present. What the hell is happening? Okay, I'm present.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I did the thing. Now what?
Oh no. Well, thank you. So was there any topics that brought you here today or just pure magnetism?
Probably most. Well, and I don't even know if this is true. I felt like when I saw the thing that was reminding me, hey, this thing is happening that you've been wanting to attend, that it said the word continuation. And I don't know if that's true, but I saw it and I was like, I'm having a tough time just continuing right now. I'm going to go. So like, cause I've been having, and everything works out perfectly right. Cause I'm sitting here being like, I have, cause the poems, like every morning and every time I have a session, and sometimes just when I'm walking down the street, I have these basically love poems from the universe coming through. And it's very much like what they're saying. You can just have fun. They're like, enjoy, dance, prance, like, remember the joy, remember the joy, remember the joy. And I'm like, I need these reminders. And I know part of the reason I get them is because I'm also supposed to share them because we all need them because things is heavy right now. But then the heavy kicks in, right? And you're like, fuck, dude. I'm sorry. I'm probably not supposed to do that on camera. But like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how when I keep getting confronted, and I know, like, but there's the part of me that's like, well, of course that's when it's needed the most, but I'm like, yeah, but my human self is tired and cranky and does not know what to do. So
totally,
how do I keep continuing, and to what purpose, and when does it lighten? Like, when does it become more, well, actually, and it already has become more easy to maintain equilibrium, but like, when does it get even better?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And I don't know if those are really legit questions because I'm just going to get the, well, what do you think? But maybe somebody else has a question out of that, or
no,
I don't know. There's something about continuation and like, how do you continue, especially when you're like, I am so in the heavy and I can also see and sort of feel that joy simultaneously. And I don't know how it helps.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So I resonate with that. I was kvetching to my partner just last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all the unknown. I'm sick of beings showing up. I'm sick of channeling weird shit. I'm sick of like synchronous moments that I can't explain and just like show up and then disappear again. I was like, I want to snap my fingers. I want control. I want to be like, now synchronicity.
Thank you.
Yes. You can show up now.
Yeah.
So it's like I could feel both sides. They're both present, but it's like, how does that help me? Like you said, like how does that help when it's hard to just like continue sometimes? Like it doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, and especially when you are with people who have trouble, even like who don't feel like the or can't seem to even see a possibility of it being lighter than it is. And like you want to be like, but it can be, and that does not work.
Yeah. No. Definitely not. Definitely not with humans.
So yeah, I think that's and I know that's part of what I'm struggling with right now is like, can I believe that just me holding it is enough? And how do I keep holding it when there's everything around me is trying to be heavy or is very in heavy?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
I don't know
Beautiful.
if there's so sorry, lots of if there's anything in there
Oh, it's great.
they want to respond to.
All right. So the continuation from last week is last week I wrote my name on a piece of notebook paper and tore it out of a notebook to
Mhm.
designate when it was me popping in their answer versus them. So
Sorry.
it's a little more dynamic,
Yeah.
a little more quick frequencies between kind of ours up and back, up and back.
Cool. Okay.
So we'll give it a shot and we'll see if that's necessary today. I'm open for anything. So I'll
Cool.
bring them through.
Okay.
Beloved one, you are feeling much.
Yep.
We celebrate this point first and foremost because by our view, there has been quite a stretch of time for you and you all where you were not conscious of these things. Therefore, first we celebrate. We see this as a victory
Mhm.
that you all have created a format and a forum such as this, where not only are you feeling these things, but are able to express them to each other. That you all understand these larger frequencies that you are feeling that exist somewhere, somehow, even if you can't yet grab them with your hands and put them into the places in your life in which you wish they were. Or
Valid.
better yet, into the faces of the people who you wish would see them too. They
Indeed.
are not yet at that phase
Okay.
of five senses manifestation, but by way of their recognized existence by you and you all consciously, it has already begun. And these things will come like a tidal wave in some ways. It will unfold faster than a human hand could move it because it is coming from the more expanded place in which you are vaster, you are reaching more frequencies, and therefore doing many things at once.
Mm-hmm.
This phase, we would say, could be characterized by the view that humanity is coming to a place of understanding the energetic power that you have. Heretofore, it had been undetected at all, and then now detected, but seeming to be disconnected from the power that you have to exert effort onto things in your reality. And this is because these wavelengths are what we might call effortless. There is not a recognition of something missing that then needs to be exerted upon. These frequencies are moved forward by way of desire. As you have heard many enlightened teachers speak about the law of attraction. Now, to this juncture, humanity has focused first on the desire. I want that new red sports car. And then, what efforts must I put into place to find it, get the financing, etc.? Essentially, where you are right now is in the frequencies ahead of the desire as humanity has known it.
Okay.
Humanity waits for the thought in many ways, a translation into the five senses reality to recognize what it is that is wanted and that needed to be gotten. And now that you are in these vaster frequencies, you are playing in things that are pre desire. And by that, we mean the five senses thought based version of it. It is not yet that specific.
Mm.
So you are often sensing things that are vaster and more loving and more allowing, etc.
Hmm.
And your five senses will respond with, that's not here yet. And not only is that not here yet, how the hell do I translate that into this space?
Yes.
And then it says, well, now I really don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
This reaction may feel like a depression.
Mm.
It may feel like a numbing sensation where you felt you had a direction previously, and now you are not so sure what direction that was, or if that should be, or where is my inspiration, etc. Okay.
Yes.
This friction feels a little bit like that. So, the friction, by our view, is nothing short of a miracle
Of course.
because you are coming from a place of incredible limitation, a creative power of limitation. And from this place, you have figured out a way to sense vaster energies. It
Yes.
is incredible to us. Now, does that translate into a friction at the moment? Yes, it does. But that is because you are finding ways to connect to these energies from this perspective.
Mm.
Others have said that you are transcending it or transforming it. These are all valid perspectives. Because you, when you are conscious in the five senses and look in the direction of the friction from this side, yes?
Mm-hmm.
You are building beliefs as to how that could still be possible every time you struggle. So if you have a rough day grappling with this friction, and the next day shows up again, and the next day shows up again, and the
Mm-hmm.
next day shows up again, what you are doing is using your construct of linear time
Mm-hmm.
to allow for the frequencies to continue to be detected.
Mm-hmm.
And after a certain period of time has passed in your reality, those things are adopted into the belief system construct. And therefore, they can be integrated.
Ah, okay. That makes
Okay,
sense.
this is Katie.
Okay.
That was they just jumped through like 10 different topics. Is it resonating?
It is, or I have a thought. I have, I have feelings and thoughts about it. Yes, it's resonating, and I guess especially when they're talking about it repeating over day, because like this has been, the past year and a half or so has been these. Well, first in sessions, and certainly since October, the daily connecting with this and daily writing and it coming in more and more. And so for part of me, part of what I'm thinking about is like it's become more of a way of being. So it's that integration is like by the consecutive, like meeting it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
willingness to meet it every day. It's become more just a part of what is instead. I mean, I still have a sense of wonder about it, but it's also just how I am now. So I don't trust them. So I guess I guess the main piece I was like, okay, so I guess it's the meeting it. We've got our linear time construct, so you need repetition. It's the human need for repetition in order to allow for something to continue to be there. I don't know, is what I am feeling.
Yes, or vice versa, because of our limitations of and the way we use linear time.
Yeah.
One way to circumvent that
Yeah.
is to do it over and over and over and over again. And then finally our belief systems are like, okay, fine. Enough
Okay,
time
fine.
has passed. You didn't just snap your fingers and break all the rules of limitation. You like kept at it. A period of time passed that most others would not want to endure it through,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, there's a gate. There's a little bit of a gate. It didn't violate everything. Okay, fine. You can have this now,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
So I think what you're saying is spot on when you say it feels like it's kind of a little bit more of a part of me.
Hmm.
Sometimes it can come through then as it feels a little more concrete, feels a little more this is how it is. It's that sensation of it manifesting
Hmm.
more viscerally, we
Yeah.
could say, in our reality.
Yeah. Yes. I think, yeah, I'm sorry, I've got little vibration stuff in my center, so it's working its way. I'm like, everything starts as sensation, and I can't necessarily put words on it for a while.
That's beautiful. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yes. Yes. I mean, like, and that's something I've been adjusting to as well for a while. Is but sensation, but not being, like you were saying, not being able to necessarily put words, or receiving words but not necessarily understanding up here
Yes.
what that means, or if it even needs to mean anything in terms of what I would consider concrete action.
Yes. Exactly.
If that made any sort of sense.
Totally. And that is what I think what they're saying about you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to recognize like you're feeling all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing certain things happen. I start to notice patterns in my days next,
Yeah.
but I can't explain it. And I don't know what it's pointing towards. Like I have no idea what direction I'm heading in.
Yeah.
And then eventually it evolves into a place of like, oh, I can name it, or oh, I have a sense of what this is. This is I want to move to this place. It becomes a thing.
Yeah.
So when they're like, hey, you're playing in the energies that are pre-desire,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of what you're sensing.
Yeah.
And the more you do this, then the more what they're expressing is it becomes integrated. Like, oh, this is kind of how it is, isn't it? I feel weird shit. Nothing happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then eventually stuff happens. And the more you get that, like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? You start to get to that phase of like, been here before.
Yeah.
When you start to feel that is it's almost coming fully into integration.
Okay.
And then
And then now that, and then next step.
and then and then we could be here for centuries and then um and then you get to choose is what they're saying. So we go through a process of like weird feelings,
Mm-hmm.
wait fucking forever until it's like something because we were abiding by the rules of limitation. But as that process gets closer and closer together and speeds up, then you feel the freedom of, oh, I get what I'm sensing. I
Yeah.
see the whole trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I understand if I do different things up here, I know how that will roll downstream.
Mm.
Whereas right now we're in a process of watching it roll downstream and figuring out what it is and
Right.
still feeling like we can only act or do something
Yeah.
once it gets closer to this end.
Okay.
Eventually you're like, oh, I get how this works. I'm going to start making choices up here.
Okay. Oh, well, that'd be nice to actually feel like you can make choices rather than just watch shit happen.
Right?
Right.
Melinda says, yes, sensations without words. I am
Mhm.
okay with that, but the people around me have a tendency not to be. It is often left frustrations on both sides. Yes, Melinda, I resonate with that completely. I find that people who understand it the most are those who are more energetically connected at this juncture
Mhm.
because I can say gibberish or I can hear gibberish and I'll be like, I totally get that. And it's that energetic connection that's starting. It's that telepathy that I
Mhm.
think we've talked about before. It's all of that has begun. And so the communication would sound patchy to someone who is just five senses based. But for those who have started to become energetic, they're like, wow, I totally get that. So the frustrations that you sense with certain people, I have found has helped me to recognize more often the feeling sensation when I am around someone who is on those wavelengths versus when I'm not yet. And it's
Mhm.
gotten easier to sort of hear the suggestion from my brain that I should tell them that, but also balance that with an understanding that there's an energetic aspect. And it's like, I don't think it's quite ready yet. I'm gonna let that bake. So it's an understanding of words to be said, but also there's more to be said that will be heard at a later point in time. So again, a lot of this is time based.
Mhm.
And sometimes the energetic part of us is reaching a place in time that's a little further out based on my experience. So if you are starting to feel like Jesse, you're saying, and sharing with us beautifully, thank you, because I think a lot of us are feeling this.
Mhm.
You're starting to feel something that's cropping up. And as you watch it get downstream, you get to about, I don't know, I'll say 2/3 of the way, which in whatever lines and energy. I don't know how you can say that, but I'll
Yeah.
say it. You get about 2/3 of the way.
Mhm.
And this is about the time where mind tries to like jump and catch it. Like, is it
Yeah.
this? Is it this? Could it be this? Is this going to happen? Should I do this?
Yeah.
And you can almost watch it activate. And that's when the energy that you're feeling is true, but it's still a little bit ahead in terms of linear time.
Okay.
It needs a little more time to percolate,
Yeah.
which is agonizing for humans at this juncture because well, fucking time. Like we don't like things to take a long time, and there's a whole boatload of beliefs in that department. So
Yes to all. There's a word, yes.
uh, are you experiencing anything else with time right now?
My life is completely different now than it was
Wow.
a
Okay.
year ago. And even this has been an ongoing thing. Like this has been a thing where I'm like, time? What is time? Like I understand that the majority of the world has a very regimented sense of time. And
Yeah.
I'm still like aware of that, but because of um how I've been living, a lot of it, like I really often sometimes don't even know what day it is.
Yes.
And it's this weird thing that's been happening where because I spend a lot of time comparatively, I mean, in whatever, this energy that
Mhm.
comes through, and that feels what I call the ever present now. So it's timeless, like without time. And then I tend to run straight up against someone else's idea of time or what I have to do. And then, well, again, and I guess I'm trying to find better language because a lot of what I have used in the past does not feel appropriate. So I'm like trying different stuff out. So I guess it's the light, airy, and formless, and where it collides or merges with heavy and form.
Yes.
And if that makes
Yes.
sense to anybody other than me. And so I often have what feel like very paradoxical experiences simultaneously and know which one I prefer, but also because of so much of what has come through me and who I think I was, I just am, is like this sensation that it's actually really important. The merge is actually really important. Like to not avoid or try to escape either, or that's not even the right word, but like to that it's totally a-okay to be in both, and that what I really desire is a melding, but the melding feels really hard.
Yes. A
um
word that's
I don't know if that
better
actually
than
answered
yes.
your time question, but I'm just like the time is where it comes up too, because it's like I get in this energy and I'm like, oh, everything's fine, and it's going to be fine, and it's always been fine, and like all this stuff is coming, like is coming, is here, and then drop out a little bit, and it's like, that doesn't feel, what, how, in what way? I'm not seeing it, or I'm seeing it, but it's patchy, my friends. It's patchy. So, so could you? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. That's all I got on that.
No, like 1,000 times yes. And Melinda, I see, says, same, Jesse. I resonate with all of that. And Melinda, I see your question too. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. But Jesse, 100,000%. So they would say the melding is kind of our mission objective here. Like when we were ready to awaken, we were gonna patch these things back together. It's like the giant intergalactic plugging in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's uncomfortable.
Very. It is very uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. I say that often to the chorus. In fact, I was walking along the beach and I was feeling some of their energies, and then I was comparing it to a five senses experience I was walking by on the beach. And it was like, oh, that's uncomfortable, you guys. That's like, oh, it hurts, right? It's like so far. And it used to be, and I know many of us have gone through this same thing. It used to be like obliterated me. It was so uncomfortable, like knocked me out for days to have an experience of them and then come back to the five senses reality. Like I was in the fetal position in my bed, like the next day. Like it was really hard. And so now it's getting to this place where it's like, okay, we can kind of see that was a cool day. That was amazing that happened. But then there's still these moments of discomfort of like, okay, well, I don't get any of this and what the hell is happening. And I don't see how this all works. Right. And then like a rocket, the question.
Yeah. And I guess it's woman, that human thing, like there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but what would that be? And then of course everything I get through is about be here now, be here now, be here now, be here now. Like that's it. And like this, and no, I love it. I mean, like, I'm being facetious right now. I really actually do love it, but
Totally.
But especially as someone who comes from a background of planners and farseers, and how do you and that I have a brain that tends to wonder and wander through the how do I get from how might that be made real.
Yes.
And like a lot of, I mean I'm a visual artist, but also in terms of other things, like I've always been interested in society, social interaction, like in larger world stuff. It's like, how do you world build? Because I mean, whether you're an artist or an urban planner, how do you world build? Like what's the vision, and then what are the steps? And so like the human always comes back to there must be a way to that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the way must involve concrete action, and yet what would that be? Yes. And like really strongly wanting to feel like there is some way to, it's not enough to just believe that is coming and will be there. It's like, how do I can I build the express track through, and what would that be? And it's hard to believe that actually just being in it and allowing for it is the fast track, rather than a set of actions, especially when everyone around you is calling you to action.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone else has had that.
I've had it, I mean, on the daily. But, I think what's interesting here is that if you are playing in energies that are out ahead of the desire, then you're right that you're saying, it feels like I should be doing something. Yeah. Because you're sensing the energetic truth of what's coming through.
Yeah.
But it hasn't quite hit pay dirt yet. It hasn't quite hit action.
Yeah.
And so then, yes, people around us who are like, what's your plan?
And me, I'm also like, what is, because I've got a very strong inner voice. It's like, Girl, you got to do something. 'Cause
Yes. So so now, and I see I want Melinda's got a great question. I think what's interesting too is here, do you
mm,
ever, Jesse, then feel like, now what do I do with all this time? Oh,
uh,
interesting, Melinda. Really?
yeah. Well, here. Okay, so here's the thing. Because I'm also, well, I do feel like I should be doing something. I'm also a bit of an ease junkie. I'm like, actually, a good life to me is having oodles of time where I can create when I feel like it, eat when I feel like it, read when I feel like it, and actually, I kind of have that most of the time, which is awesome. but but you run up against everybody else who's like, but you have to do and achieve and strive and do and oh, the world is awful, why aren't you doing something? And I'm like, couldn't like chilling the fuck out be the thing you need to do for the world to not be so maybe spend some
Yes.
time maybe spend some time. I want to build a world that's full of love and ease, so you kind of have to be in the love and ease in order to like, because how do you know what that is if you're never doing it? So you know so I kind of fill my time with that, and I mostly like it, but then everybody's like, but that's not enough. And things cost money, so there's that. But
Yes.
it's so interesting. I'm like, but I kind of feel like this is actually the thing, that there's tons to be observed and to be enjoyed when you give yourself time.
Yeah.
And like, so this whole year has been giving myself time to be, and it's like, how far can I push that regardless of the outside circumstances of what most people would consider not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been surprisingly successful, and simultaneously you're constantly coming up against that friction of, but what if, and don't you have to, and time is running out, and like, what, you're getting older and you don't have all these things in place. And I keep finding myself in situations like dealing with my 102-year-old grandmother in a home, and the amount of money it takes to take care of people. And like, I keep getting put in situations that
Mm-hmm.
are like forcing me to, how are you going to meet this? Are you going to get like, in all the panic and all the, you should be doing something else. Oh, you have to do stuff to protect yourself. Oh, like literally, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
what you've been doing for the past year. I listened to your, I'm like, oh man, literally every single one of these things about safety, about protection, about time, about like, and having to do something about it. Once you start trying to give yourself the opposite of that, comes screaming,
Oh, totally.
screaming and screeching to the foreground. And it
Totally.
is, and discomfort.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? What's interesting to me too is I feel like I'm encountering more stories like this where people are feeling this, who are going through this sort of like spiritual process of
Mhm.
recognizing their desire for that like ease or that time or whatever, grappling with the need to provide for themselves and or a
Mhm.
family. And I'm also finding that it's happening to people that I would characterize as like otherwise it's like very responsible, very aware, very even organized and
Mhm.
punctual. And
Mhm.
this, I mean, goes against the archetype for what you would consider spiritual people to be. I feel like, the mainstream is sort of like, oh, they're sort of like kind of creative hot messes, stuff's everywhere. They never know what's happening. And I have to say, I'm finding the opposite actually in this wave. It's like these are people who have held responsibility,
Mhm.
like
Yep.
have worked in companies and have then like quit and been like, I can't do this anymore. Like are used to the deadlines, care
Yes.
for families, family members. Like
Mhm.
these are people who are coming from deep within the time and responsibility structures
Yeah.
and are coming up out of it and finding ways each day to be like, okay, that was hard, but I'm gonna allow for this, or I'm gonna take that time, or I'm gonna take some deep breaths, and I'm gonna go sit on the porch in the sunshine. It's so I find it amazing that from an aggregate perspective, if we have hundreds to thousands of people who are coming from those beliefs about time and doing and make it happen, and
Yep.
are now reaching up to an energetic place and bringing it back down, like collectively, we are all right now rewriting basically all the things we thought had to be true about accomplishment and doing.
Right.
by way of reaching things that are vaster and are kind of just going to help manifest it. And the more we allow it, basically, the more we are like, I hear you, belief. So I'm gonna make that phone call, but then I'm also gonna chill here for a second.
Mhm.
Right? That allowing of the friction and balancing it and whatever I think is ultimately giving us all greater permission
Yeah.
to have sort of more of this freedom, more
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah. And I was actually, as you were talking, I was and thinking back to what they were saying. And I promise this connects. So I was introduced to human design for the first time the other day. Don't know if anybody else is familiar. And like this crazy ass graph that you get when you get your human design chart, and about uh, I'm a generator. Hello. And so, uh, but this sacral power jet, like this driving force here, but that you're actually like your superpower basically to wait is like when I got to that part, it was like is like that you receive this huge is to be is like here wait, receive the information and respond, but don't respond until you receive, instead of trying to, unlike I guess there's others that they're supposed to like just make decisions and go for it. The main thing was it's like listen to, it's that deep listening to your yes or your no from your gut, and not do anything until you actually can hear the clear yes, clear no, or
Wow.
maybe so. And I was like, oh,
It's
gosh darn
brutal,
it.
isn't it?
Gosh darn it. And hello, manifesting generator. Hi. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that I guess that was resonating up and like percolating up when you're talking to, is that this whole,
Yeah.
because you were saying that they were saying, and you're saying this pre-desire is like, something's coming.
Yes.
Like you can feel it in the ether, but it hasn't hit the part of you that knows yet.
That
And
can, yeah,
you
form
just
it.
have to wait it out, and that feels sometimes horrendously bad.
Yes. Because in that beautiful space is where all the nightmarish beliefs jump up to the forefront and are like, we'll tell you why you can't wait.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
but money, but time, but
Yes.
resources, but things, but this,
Yeah.
but that, but aging, but yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, exactly. Melinda says excruciating.
yeah.
Melinda also said that concept of choice is it the same as what Abraham talks about when they say getting out ahead of it. Jesse, are you familiar with Abraham?
I have heard of, but have not really listened. I have a lot of people who do, but I have not myself.
Melinda, vaguely recollect some of their talks about that. They're about law of attraction,
Okay.
and I think getting out ahead of it in their mind may be maybe some combination of when you feel the negative thoughts coming to sort of maybe like redirect into a different place is at least how I understood it first gen. Now that I'm coming back to things second gen, I have a different understanding of it. And I think, yes, they may have said or expressed or suggested that as you get out ahead of the desire, you're playing in a pure energetic feeling space. And so you can resonate there.
Mhm.
And also spending time imagining what you want. Melissa says, yeah. So
Yes.
that's the play space that I think even the chorus is referring to of that when it feels more like a choice to us, we will be able to choose sort of a density of manifestation here, or we will be able to choose sort of a lighter of creating and creative energies there. Imagining and memory are very similar in the way that they reach additional frequencies. So when we say, "Oh, I just had a memory," that usually comes in from a place that has reached sort of an expansive energy, you could say, and it comes through by way of our context, which is linear time.
Mm.
And so we say, "Oh, it's this memory." We translate it very neatly into something, but it usually represents an idea. It usually represents a connection. Usually represents something that reflects what we're working on in the present moment. And imagination can be very similar, just not appended to linear time. Imagination is like, oh, I was just daydreaming. I was on a Hawaiian vacation. That was fantastic. Not that I am remembering my Hawaiian vacation. And so these are the places where this pre desire stuff originates from. And so now there are sort of like a more direct place we're hitting where we're like, I feel it. It's real. It's not a memory of a thing. It's not a thing I'm imagining. It's happening.
Yeah.
And wow, it's been going on for a long time now. And then I usually get to like, okay, it's been going on for like 3 days. I have to do something. I have to do something, you know? So
Mhm.
I think I resonate completely with everything that you're saying. And also, I see the beauty of what you're building because I know that resonance counts. And so every time you go through these junctures and these frictions and this back and forth, you resonate as a person, more of that ease, more of that permission, more of that allowing. Like people who are getting into the jive and starting to feel this back to that like kind of telepathic communication
Mhm.
are going to sort of download is a very specific way of saying it, but resonate with is a lighter way of saying
Mhm.
the pathways that you've created. So people, when they get around you or start creating with you or however that works, are going to access energetically those ways that you have allowed sort of contact with energetic knowing, even if it's not yet manifested.
Okay.
And so the allowing sort of amplifies. Now, as the course has, I would say, warned me many times, but that's like a dark human word. As the course has livingly pointed out many times, there may not be a five senses manifestation of that
Mhm.
resonance that we can detect for a little bit longer. It's the
Okay.
same. It's the same thing. There's a trickle down effect.
Okay.
So they say it some ways, as in there are no accidents, there are no coincidences. The people who show up and are around you are very much resonating in and with your energies,
Okay.
and they are affected by them. And I have had walls crumble lately. I have had people in my life that I was like, wow, I just don't think I can ever share this stuff with them, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And then suddenly the curtain just
Yeah.
falls. And they're like, I've been thinking a lot about what you've been saying the last 5 years. It's like, wow, really? Like,
Mhm.
really? You know? So
Yeah.
there is an effect, an energetic effect. And right now it doesn't mean that much to us here because it hasn't manifested a lot.
Yeah.
But it's real and it goes back to that effortless place. I mean, when you're hanging out and doing what you want to do, you're resonating. That is like a bright little light that shines, and there are others, many others, in fact, who are affected by that all the time.
Yeah. It's. Thank you. I needed to hear that. And yet, yes, I think we just need the again. It's the reminders because it can feel very much the opposite of that when you're in the heart of that friction, constriction, whatever you want to call
Yes.
that spot.
Yes. And then that's why I put peanut butter on potato chips this morning. So
I mean, I've actually heard of someone who makes peanut butter and potato chip sandwiches. Is
oh,
that
for
a
reals.
thing?
My people. Yes.
If that makes you feel any better, and I'm kind of curious now because
Yes.
could be
We need
good.
our space and our self-care, and then
Mhm.
people who get it, it'll be a balance, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. Um, yeah, and I guess it's part of it is the can you trust for long enough long enough
Mhm.
um that it actually will arrive without
Well, and here's the last thing. Oh my gosh, it's 12:55. So, time. What's time
okay.
anyways? But, here's something I will say. I have both persevered
Hmm.
in the friction and continued to walk with it and breathe through it and do all that.
Hmm.
And then I've also said, F this, F all of this. I'm going to go off and do this other thing anyways, or I'm just going to say it, or I'm just going to whatever. I'm going to take that action that my mind is telling me to do.
Hmm.
Both have worked out. over and
Excellent.
over and over again, and I take the mind-based action, and then I'm, like, ashamed, or then I feel bad, or I should just accept them for where they are, There's a pathway over there, and then sometimes I breathe through it, and it's good, but it's exhausting, or either way, we're working through all of it, and ultimately, like, it's all the arrows are pointing forward, every single one.
Yeah.
So the paths look different and they feel different on the 5 senses, and that's true. But, like, the longer time passes and the more I watch some of these events unfold, the more I'm like, "Son of a gun." It
Always.
all it all just got there, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. All roads to one road. It's all good. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, my darling. It's so good
Thank
to see you.
you. It's
Thank
so
you.
good to see you. This is the best ever. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
coming up and sharing all that. I know that
Oh,
helped me, and I believe it helped others too.
oh, I hope so. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you, everybody.
That was awesome, and I can't believe we're already at time. So I'm gonna bring through the chorus for a closing goodbye message, and then we'll close out. Dear ones, though we have much in our perspectives that we enjoy sharing, and there is so much in your perspectives that we delight in experiencing and in understanding, there is never a substitute, perhaps, for the exploration of your own perspectives, for coming to consciousness with each other about what it is that you each feel and are experiencing and believe. We are here to support you in this process. We are happy at any point in time to express to you our understanding of things as it may assist you in exploring the vast array of diverse perspectives in the universe. We love you, and we send our loving energy to each of you all the time. And we celebrate this and the many conversations to come in which you are awakening to all the things that you have done, are experiencing, and are creating. We love you infinitely. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Jessie. A huge thank you to Jessie for being so brave and coming up and sharing so many awesome points with us all. I appreciate it very much. And we will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Love you all. Take care.